So, John, last week when we were talking on the podcast, we were talking about travel and all of the different things that we did. You know, the camping trip and the your trip to Mexico and things like that. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I actually mentioned it at the very beginning, and typical PoddiMouths fashion, we went on a completely different direction, or in a completely different direction, on a tangent. And we never actually hit on it. And it was the statement that I said, I really hope our bosses aren't listening to this right now, because, and full transparency, everyone, I did say this to my bosses too. So it's not like it's a secret by any means. But the one thing I found interesting is this is the first time in a very, 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 very long time that I took more than just a week off. I took a week and a half, so a few more days. Just because it landed on the holidays, and we had the ability to do that, and it made sense. So I took about a week and a half, a little bit more than a week and a half, I guess. So more than 7 days, more than the typical 7-day vacation. And I have to say, the Europeans, or those countries that do the 2 weeks or the month-long vacations, they have it right. I don't usually say stuff like that, but they definitely know something that we don't, because it took me a full 7 or 8 days before I was in a mindset to actually enjoy my vacation. So the last 4 or 5 days that I had off, I actually got to enjoy it and relaxed, and came back to my job refreshed and ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, that's and certainly anyone who has more vacation rather than less vacation will make that argument that the Europeans have it figured out. I think there are many cases in which they do, although I don't strive for us to be more like Europe, because I don't think that's the right. I don't think that's the right approach.
With everything, there are elements that are really, really good that I think we could probably do well by adopting. And I do think a longer vacation, or at least the acceptance of longer vacations, are definitely things that we should be considering, because I feel refreshed. I have more focus. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to hit the ground running. And I didn't even have a full 2 weeks off. That was just an extra 3 or 4 days at the end of my vacation.
And let's face it, with you in particular, it wasn't just the work part. It was the dance studio, and it was, you had multiple irons in the fire. So getting some separation from at least one of those things, it had to help with the clarity. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and I will add to that, I did take another step to that. I separated from it. Like, I put my computer up in my office. And I didn't touch it for the entire break.
Well, and that's
which I don't usually do on vacation.
That's the way it is with a lot of people. They're on, I'm doing air quotes, vacation, but they're not really, because they're checking email and they can't. Mm-hmm. And you're right. If you don't get that separation, what is the point of taking time off?
Right.
Because it's really not off then. And honestly, listeners, if you have a boss who insists that while you're on vacation, you have to stay in the loop like that, look, it's not a happy place to be in. No. It's just not. So
I do have to say,
we can do that.
To the credit of our organization, our bosses do not encourage that. They encourage the opposite. They
because
are very much
understand.
Yes. So I'm very, not that we do that. And that, honestly, that makes it easier for me to do more work. It's kind of like the whole concept behind unlimited vacation. When a company has unlimited vacation, the reason they're putting it in isn't because they think, we want to give our employees more vacation. No, it's because studies have proven if you give your employees unlimited vacation, they tend to take less vacation.
Yeah.
So it's that concept, if and I don't think our bosses are thinking in that. They really do want us to disconnect, but it's the same concept though. If you tell your employees, I really want you to disconnect while you're on vacation, I don't want you to answer emails, you don't need to worry about anything. What are you going to do? I'm going to be on my email. I'm going to be on my computer. That's just the way it is.
I call it the roundabout status, where if you've ever seen, and they are much more prevalent in some states than others, but the roundabouts rather than intersections.
Mm-hmm. And I got a whole other story about that. So
we can certainly talk more about it, but Wisconsin has been one that has just embraced roundabouts in a big way. There's an exit off a major highway it's called the Fox River Valley, up by the thumb of Wisconsin. And they have one exit that has 4 consecutive roundabouts. You go around and then the next one and then the next one. And I was just trying to go straight.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay on that street. But here's the point. The roundabout part of it is the reason they do it because statistically they are safer.
Yes.
Also, the part that they don't factor in is people are inherently more confused at roundabouts. So they go slowly. That's why they're statistically safer, not because it's safer to have people drive in concentric circles.
Right. Well, and I do think it depends on the roundabout too. So in, is it Carmel or Carmel? It's Carmel, I think. Carmel, Indiana, which is in a suburb of Indianapolis.
Carmel, California, and Carmel, Indiana. Yeah.
There's so many of them. Craig lives in Mount Carmel.
Well, it's Mount Salted Carmel.
Right. Yeah. Well, that only because he lives there. It's very salty.
Delicious.
Yeah. Anyway, they have a lot of roundabouts. They've adopted it big time, and it's the same thing. It's roundabout after roundabout after roundabout. Now, it takes you a minute to get used to it, but the people that I worked with there said they loved it because their commute time was cut by about 15 to 20 minutes each way because they don't have to stop anymore and wait for traffic to go by. So that is definitely a benefit.
Well, you still have to pause, though.
You pause, but there's a difference between a pause and a stop.
Yes, I don't disagree. But let me give you one other roundabout thing as we're on this topic, however we got here. On the Harley, it's a totally different thing on roundabouts. Two reasons. Number one, because people don't see you.
Right.
And so if you're going around it, they will often cut right in front of you because they're not paying attention. But the other thing is because they're usually smallish circles to get around there. I regularly scrape my floorboards.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no. And it's kind of fun. It's a joke with a buddy of mine I ride with that that's like a badge of honor. You can never be scared of hearing scraping. And the best way not to be scared of that is to do it regularly.
I can see that. That makes perfect sense.
It was pretty good. Anyway, sorry, but that was
that's all right. So
that's what it is.
They recently put one in my community here. One roundabout.
Really,
there are very few roundabouts in the Nashville area. I can literally think of maybe 3, and this one's a small one, and they're doing it on a trial basis.
Oh, wait. Time out. How do you do a roundabout in a
You don't really. That's what they say. It's all communication.
Like it's what do they call those things? The sketch thing.
I think what they mean by trial is this particular one isn't going anywhere, but whether or not they put more in.
Got it.
Yeah. So the first, even to this day, I was going to say the first 6 months it was in, it was horrible. But it's still pretty bad because people will still stop. They'll get to it and they will stop. And they're like, that's not what the roundabout is. It's first of all, there's a yield sign right there. You yield to traffic. If there isn't any traffic, go.
Yes.
Just go. And they're still not doing it.
But there's that learning curve and they just figure people are going to inherently figure it out. I saw a roundabout, a friend related this to me in Wisconsin where they go counterclockwise because we drive on the right. And this older lady, instead went clockwise.
Oh no.
Which is going to cause some trouble in the
maybe just yeah. The ones that really get me though are the 2 and 3 lane roundabouts where you have to be in the right lane to make sure you make the right turn. So if you're going to I hate those. I hate those. I like the single roundabout. That's where I kind of draw the line.
Yeah, I don't mind 2 lanes. I don't mind 2 lanes when you approach it in a 2-lane street and then you can both turn onto the roundabout.
Yeah, exactly. Well, or if you're here's my biggest thing, Carmel being a good example.
Yep.
When I first got there, I didn't know the roads, right? So if I was in the wrong lane, I got screwed.
Sure.
Because I didn't know. Now it's okay if you're a local and you know which lane you're supposed to be in to make the correct turn, then it's fine. But you're confusing especially, and I'm not saying Carmel is, but if you are like Nashville, you are a place for tourists And
That's a
Nashville
good
does have a
point.
big roundabout like this.
Good
I
point.
think you were on it
Yeah.
by the convention center. It
Yep.
has 3 lanes or 4 lanes. That's confusing if you are a tourist
That's
because
right.
you don't know where to go,
Yep.
right? And you'll screw yourself. So that's where it gets. I
But
don't
and
think.
that's a really good point because what some of them do, and there's one oh gosh, I know there's one by Watertown, Wisconsin. I think one by Edgerton, Wisconsin, where if you're in the wrong lane, the only choice you have is to merge onto the interstate.
Oh no, that's even
Well,
worse.
it's marked well, but if you happen to get in the wrong place, you can't jump lanes because it's concrete barriers
Yeah, yeah.
that are separate. That doesn't count as a
That
roundabout
no,
anymore.
that's not
Ask
around.
me.
No, that's an
Yeah,
exit. No,
exactly.
well, you could do the National Lampoon's Vacation in Europe and just keep going around the roundabout the whole
European
time
vacation.
until yeah,
Yes, love that.
that was so. Anyway, but back to the vacation.
Yes,
I
sir.
came back and that was my whole point to that. I came
Yeah.
back so refreshed, and I really do think we need to take longer vacations.
When I was younger and in a much more stressful job, it truly, and Lisa and I have talked about this, truly took me 3 to 4 days to settle down. I mean, lying by the pool,
Mhm.
not doing anything except drinking umbrella drinks. It took me 3 or 4 days to just calm down enough to start to enjoy.
Yeah,
So if we didn't do a week to 10 days, it might as well not have been a vacation. A long
right.
weekend
Well, and
is
then of
not a
course
vacation.
add the travel there and
Sure,
back onto it
sure.
because that's stressful in and of itself.
It's a day anymore. I mean, as you said, we just got back from Mexico, and so it was essentially a day to get there and a day to get
Mhm.
back. And
Yep.
there were a couple of flight delays on the way home, but
I've never
um,
heard of a delay, but I'm glad you didn't have any delays.
I'm trying to call them flight delays now because I want credit for creating a new word.
I like. Okay, we're going on another rabbit hole
Good.
here.
About
Have
time.
you watched any Netflix lately?
I have.
Did you watch any last night?
I did not. I watched
Okay.
Prime Video last night.
All right. So my new recommendation, they're short episodes. I think they're about 20 minutes long, hosted by Nick Cage, The History of Swearwords.
There you go. That would be something you would watch.
Frickin' hilarious.
Oh,
Especially
wait.
the first one. The first one is about the word fuck. And that's my favorite word.
You just
So
said frickin' hilarious.
I said
Like,
frickin' hilarious
point
about
out
the
the
word fuck. I did that on
inequity
purpose.
of your conversation.
Would that be considered alliteration? No, I guess not.
No.
Yeah.
So
But
interesting. Okay.
yeah, it's a really interesting. I
Was
watched the
it the
first.
for unknown carnal knowledge or for unlawful carnal knowledge or something like that?
Say that
I've
again.
heard I've often heard that is the origination of that naughty word you just said.
No, it's not, and that's what they talk about. So they bring in experts. There's a panel of comedians and a panel of experts, and it's all hosted by Nick
Never the
Cage.
twain shall meet.
Right, exactly. Well, it's done during COVID, so none of them were in the same room. But it was really. I can't recommend it enough. It was highly entertaining, and you do learn something. And no,
Nick
fuck
Cage.
does not come from fornication under the consent of a king.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard of that one?
Or unlawful carnal knowledge is what. How about golf? Since we're talking about swear words, gentlemen only, ladies forbidden.
Yeah, no, that's not where it comes from, but I like it.
It is.
Is
I
it
think
really?
it is. Yeah. It was a
I see,
Scottish.
but I always thought that it was fornication under consent of the king.
All right.
I thought that was where that word came from, and it's not.
Well,
And then
that's
the next one I watched was shit, and that one was interesting as well.
okay. So here's Nick Cage. Okay, so we're talking about swear words today, and I can't do a Nick Cage impression, obviously, but it
Yeah,
doesn't matter
definitely.
because I'm envisioning him doing it. And welcome to shit day. Or I mean, do they label it that way?
Sort of. He does little monologues in the beginning.
Or, I mean,
And the shit one was interesting because it was sugar, honey, and iced tea.
huh?
And then he was going on and he's saying, yeah, sugar, honey, and iced tea. And then he did sugar, honey, and iced tea and said, yep, really looks like shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So
Yeah.
where do they draw the line? I mean, is it like George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV, which several of them have now been said on
Well,
network
we're not on
TV?
TV, so
No, I'm not talking about us. I'm just talking about George
well,
Carlin's 7
okay.
words.
So in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one, they did talk about the ratings scale
Yeah.
for movies and television and what you can and can't say.
Okay.
For example, PG-13, you can say fuck once, but it can't be the meaning of the word.
Okay.
So you can say like
You're saying it as an
Ron
expletive.
Burgundy. Ron Burgundy said, whatever, San Diego, go fuck yourself. He can get away with that in a PG-13.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. Again, I highly recommend. I can't do it
I'm just
justice.
wondering, the reason I'm asking is because do they have things like, hey, welcome to the poopy pants episode? I mean, is that counting
No,
as a swear word, or
no,
damn, or
no. It literally, they just pick one word for each episode
I
and they
know.
talk about the
Where
history
do
of
they
it.
draw the lines on what the words are? I mean,
Well, they talk about that too. So they talk about, like, because in the shit episode, I think it was the shit episode, or it was bitch. No, it was the bitch episode. Yeah. They talked about how the language, first of all, they talk about how feminists are reclaiming that word. And also how a lot of the swear words, all of the swear words, really started becoming more popular and more accepted in a way due to Black culture and a lot of the hip hop music and things like that. Even though it was never meant to be that, that's why a lot of it has become, and that's where a lot of the battles have come in as well. And also how the meanings of the words have changed over time and that they're starting to change again. And one of the guys, I think he was a musician and a comedian, said, you know, who decides what words are good or bad, or who decides what is a swear word? Because really, it all happens over time. 200 years ago, using the word shit, it was not a bad word. It wasn't. It was like using poopy, and that was the example one of the experts said. Uh, crap is quickly becoming the same level as shit, while shit is moving back into a different dimension of the word itself. So,
wow.
yeah.
Well, look, to me, it's more of a conceptual understanding that, regardless, it's just language, it's just a word, it doesn't mean anything. Well, then why say it?
Right.
They have connotations. So you can argue with them or say that it's just a word, or however, to diminish the fact that you're using that. But look, there are consequences for all of that. Give you an example. One of my friends has a guy he works with, and he cannot construct more than 2 sentences truly without dropping an F-bomb.
Okay.
In any context, whether he's with a client, whether he's at lunch, whether he's sitting in a bar and being loud, he cannot utter a sentence or 2 sentences without the F-bomb.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when that becomes a smart business move.
It may or may not be. So, and they discuss that too. And it might actually be something, quite honestly, wrong with his frontal lobe. They actually get into the brain science because they talked about one gentleman who was working on the railroad, and an explosive went off and a spike went through his face, up through his head, and he survived. But afterward, he couldn't form any sentences without swearing. But they said that the spike had gone through his frontal lobe in just that particular spot where he couldn't, those were the only words that he could really remember. And it was what allowed him to speak, was to be able to use those words.
I wonder how his marriage vows went.
I don't think he was married. Anyway, so it was, again, it's interesting. And it also, I guess, swear words, whatever those swear words are, and it doesn't have to be the real swear words. So, you can say darn or fudge or stuff. But that act of saying those particular words actually, I guess, cause more adrenaline to be secreted or put into the body. So it helps you with certain things. So one of the experiments that they did on the show was to stick the comedian's hands in ice water. Half of the comedians could swear, the other half couldn't. and you could see who was able to last longer in the cold water. And the people that could swear were able to keep their hands in the cold water longer.
Okay, so let's just touch on that, and then we'll leave this because I don't want to spend the entire.
Why not?
This is because I'm going to call my pastor and say, you may not want to listen to this one.
Yeah, probably not.
It's like causation and effect. I think that you can say when people swear, they can withstand X or they secrete more. Maybe. On the other hand, is one causing the other? I'm not sure that's
again. It's not accurate in this sense. It's a good argument to make because of the show, but what they're saying is there are certain ways in which you communicate, because everyone's language, shit in German is Scheiße. That's very close, but it's a different word. But it's the act of saying those words. That's why I brought up the fact that you could say darn or shucks or shoot or fudge and still get the same effect. It doesn't have to be the actual swear word, but being able to, I don't want to say omit because that's not the right word, but it's to emote that with language and being able to speak and to scream. That's what does it. And I think that was left out of that particular experiment, because if you let the person who wasn't allowed to swear just scream while they were doing it, it would probably have the same effect as a swear word.
And that's very well said. I would agree with that. Okay, one last thing. I never thought I would hear you say these words during a PoddiMouths broadcast. It was the bitch episode. I can't believe we haven't done one of those yet.
Right? Say it without. Well, most of our episodes are bitching episodes.
Oh my gosh!
And if you watch that show, you'll know how wrong that statement actually is. I am a feminist, by the way.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway,
wow. I'm leaving it alone.
I'm stopping right there. No, seriously. I am a feminist. I consider myself a feminist.
I'm a lesbian.
I am that too. Yep.
That's okay, whatever. Stuck in a man's body.
So, okay, let's actually unpack that, because I have very strong feelings about that. I was raised by a very strong woman, and that very strong woman pissed me off for a lot of various reasons that had to do with being a very strong woman. Not that I was upset by anything she did, but she was part of a startup company in medical field. She was an ultrasound and tech and mammographer, and they did CAT scans and things like that. When the gentleman that started the company, Glenn, started the company, he offered my mom part ownership. He wanted to be a partner with her, and she turned it down. My mom had enough talent and enough wherewithal and enough experience that she could have done very, very well being a partner in that business. And I mean, I didn't know it then. I was a kid, but growing up and being someone who's very interested in business and very interested in small businesses and entrepreneurship, knowing that she turned that down pisses me off. Now, I don't know all the reasons why. There may have been other reasons, but still, if given an opportunity, and the business is still going strong today. The original person doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's still in operation. Some of the people my mom managed are still working there. It's a very successful business. It's a multi-million dollar business.
But as you said, you may not know all the reasons behind the decision.
Exactly. Exactly.
But just as a talking point, I totally understand that, because you would say, why not? Was it a gender thing? Was it,
right. And that's moving forward. So there are people in my life, whether it's connected with my wife or connected to people I know or friends or anything like that, that some of the things that I see young women doing piss me off. For example, there is a couple of young ladies that my wife taught dance to when she was younger, and I'm trying to be very careful because some of them might actually listen to this. They went to college and got their 4-year degree, and they're extremely intelligent women. Extremely intelligent women. There are a couple of them that went to become medical assistants. They got a 4-year degree to become a medical assistant. And I had a conversation with one of them. I said, "You're smart enough to do it. You want to spend 4 years at college Why not become a 4-year degree nurse? Or even taken further, you're smart enough to be a doctor. Why not be a doctor? Their whole focus, which again, more power to anyone that wants to do it. Motherhood and having a family is just as much of a job as being a CEO of a company. I completely agree with that. I understand that. But why only focus on that? If you have the ability and you have the talent and it is something you want to do, because I know these people wanted to do something like that, why succumb to the societal norms and not go and do it?
If that's what it was.
Well, yeah, of course, there's always another side to it. There is. I
Sure.
fully recognize that. But if there's a will, there's a way. And if it's something you want to do, you can get it done.
If okay, so that argument can be made for anything. It
Absolutely.
really, I think, for everyone where it might be a result of, well, I have to, as you put it, succumb to the societal norms.
Hmm.
Uh, there are 10 times as many who had some other reason.
Oh,
And
sure.
it's not all a female thing.
No, no,
It's
definitely
a
not. That
male thing as well.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I think entrepreneur, and you and I know a lot of entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and it's fair to say that not all of them are brilliant,
No, not at all.
but they do have a drive that causes them to do something, and not everybody has that drive.
Right.
And so if it's, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that gender should hold anybody down.
And that's
That's
where I was going with that
Yeah,
as
no, I
well. And
agree with you. Although I think, as you mentioned briefly, that motherhood is a wonderful gig, and
oh,
if
it is.
that is you, that is never a cop out. That
Absolutely not.
is
Nope.
that's an amazing. It's like a calling, if you ask me.
It is, but and you know what? Set gender aside too, because I
Mhm.
think there are plenty of stay-at-home dads that do
Big
just
time,
as good a job.
big time.
I would absolutely love to be a stay-at-home dad. I think that would be incredible.
Okay, so I'd have to be a stay-at-home grandpa now, but, which I'd be good with
Yeah,
because
there you go.
you can spoil your grandkids like crazy, which I try to do. The difference is, um, do you really wanna do it, and could you really do it long term?
No, I
I don't
probably couldn't because
I don't think
I
you
always
could.
wanna do 100
Yeah,
different things.
and I'm
I'm
the
never
same way.
satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
So,
same
but
way.
that's and that but going back to what we were saying,
Yep,
one of my favorite employers, one of my favorite bosses,
yep,
still a friend of mine to this day, was a very strong female entrepreneur. Done wonderful things when it comes to small businesses, and I got to meet a
sure.
lot of really incredible entrepreneurs, both male and female. And she was part of some incredible organizations like the um, Economic Bus- Women's Economic Business Council, WeBank,
Mhm.
um, the National Association of Women Business Owners, NABO, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So I just, but it frustrates me again that there are people that just, that it has to do with societal norms. And I think women can do anything a man can do and do it equally, or even some cases more successfully, you
Yeah,
know?
I think just personally, you gotta take gender out of it. I mean,
Absolutely.
it has to be who is the best person for the job?
Yep.
Who is the best one to accomplish this? And everybody has shortcomings and everybody has strong points. It's just a matter of, taking a chance, taking a risk, which I've certainly done in the past and have blown up in my face,
Sure.
and some that haven't. And so, yeah, that's what life is all about. It's about taking risks, and your level of comfort is going to determine what risks you take and what you
Right.
don't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes with anything. I mean, investing. So I let's just say 15 years ago, I was not in a position to be talking about investing beyond, oh, here's my passbook savings account, and it's bringing in a wonderful 4% back then
Yeah. I was going
interest
to say, I'd
rate.
love for 4%
It'd
interest.
be cool.
Jeez.
But today, to be in that position, I have to identify how uh, uh, how crazy I want to be. I think that's what they say on the forums. How crazy do you want to be with your
Right.
investments?
Yeah.
How aggressive do you want to be with your investments? And
I like
because
crazy.
of my advanced age, I have to think, well, I don't want to be too aggressive because
But then
I
you
don't have the time to make it up.
that's yeah, I can see that too. But on the same side, you think back in history, yeah, we've taken some pretty big dips, but has any investment, well, I shouldn't say any investment. That's a poor use of the English language there. But when you invest in the stock market, for example, has as a large fund, not as an individual stock, but as a large fund, have many funds really lost that much for a long period of time?
Oh gosh, no. But some have, and so
Mhm.
there's still an inherent risk.
Oh, there is. But
Still playing
if
the
you do it
lottery a
right,
little.
I really like Tony Robbins's. Is that how you would say it? Robbins's?
Yes.
Tony Robbins's is.
Or you could
Is- is-
wow,
is- is-
you just doubled it up. You
Yeah.
can also say Tony Robbins
Yeah. Tony Robbins has a
apostrophe.
very uh, good method, or at least one of his books did,
Mhm.
where he invests in, say, the stock market, like the NASDAQ, and then he invests in bonds, but it's like a 60-40 split.
Sure.
So he said invest 40% in bonds, 60% in, and I might have that number wrong. It could be the other way around, but do that split and then don't touch it for a year. And at the end of the year, you look, and if the split is different, if one of them is now 70%, the other one's 30, you take the money out of one and put it in the other until it balances out again. Because he said in all of history, if the stock market is down, bonds are up and
Sure.
vice versa.
Yep.
So you're always going to be making money and you're always going to be going back and forth. And the idea is just to keep that balance. And then if you do that, you really only have to look at your portfolio once a year. And
Yeah.
then you can take the money out whenever you absolutely need it. But
Sure. Well,
or
and
at
I
retirement.
think, yeah, to say that there's no one answer for anybody. I mean,
No.
it's everybody has different circumstances, and if I had $10 million to invest, which I'm just a little shy of that,
Just a little. Me too.
you too. We're gonna get there though.
Yeah.
Once we start that sewing business we've been talking
Right. Well, I
about.
was going to say we should start a podcast.
I don't have time for that.
Oh, okay.
As we
it was just an idea.
here.
Yeah, right.
I think it's different for everybody, and it's good to take advice from people like that, but not to take it all. And
No,
because there are other people like Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
I
I don't agree with 100% of what
I
Dave
don't
Ramsey
either.
has to
I
say,
like
but I
some
do
of what
agree
he
with
said,
exactly.
and
Kind
I
of what
like some of what others say too.
kind of like what you were saying about Europe earlier.
Yeah.
There are definitely some things that we can take and use,
Sure.
but all of it is not going to work for us.
Exactly right. Yeah, and it's yeah. So see, nicely done. We just were cyclical.
Hey, it's all about bringing it around. It's almost like we planned it. It's almost like we have a plan for our episodes.
Our listeners know better.
If we even have listeners at this point.
Well, I meant
we have been recording for 33 minutes. So
I think there are two of us at least. I know we have two listeners.
Yeah, I listen every time I edit.
Right now.
Right.
As I talk over you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I never do I say anything important.
Never do I not.
Never do I ever.
Never ever.
Never do I ever. Never ever. No, whatever. It's a drinking game too.
Oh, is it? Good.
Yeah.
We need more of those.
Right? Or never have I ever. That's what it is. Never have I ever.
Okay.
And if someone would say something they've never done, and if you've done it, you have to take a drink.
Okay. They'd say something that they haven't done?
Yeah. So I would say never have I ever walked down a street in Madison.
Oh.
So I know you have, so you would have to take a drink.
Where's my drink? Yeah.
Exactly.
I have coffee this morning.
Right. But I have walked down a street in Madison, so that was a bold-faced lie. I just couldn't think of anything else.
Well, that was good. Yeah, I'm glad it didn't involve anything weird.
Right. Like walking down the street in Madison?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
What else is going on in your mind today?
Oh, well, I don't think we have a podcast long enough to mention everything that's going on in my brain.
But one thing that's going on around your brain today is a stocking cap.
Yes,
our
it's
listeners,
cold in
Nick
my office.
is wearing a stocking cap. How cold is it?
Well,
40?
Let's see what the temperature. Hold on. It probably is right around 40.
Step it up and start paying your heating bills.
Okay. Well, that's something that's going on in my brain. What temperature do you leave your house on at night?
62.
Good for you.
Well, we have a nest, so it's the whatever the leaf setting is. I
Right?
think it's 62 at night.
It's 35 degrees right now.
Not inside your house.
No, 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 outside. But I have the heat on the second floor set at 62. And
Okay.
then my office is not connected to it's connected to the heating system, but it doesn't have any way to take the temperature. So
Oh,
because it's 35 outside and it's 62 on the second level, I'm on the third level. It's much colder than that. And
warm
because
air rises. Come on, you can't trick me.
well, I have the door shut so no one can hear me talking. But for you and for our listeners, I shut off my heater because I have a little space heater under my desk.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm freezing my butt off. Not right now because I have a hat on. But I'm a bald person, and bald people need hats when it's cold.
I don't think so. I think I've seen plenty of bald people with ice on their heads.
Well, yeah, that's ice on their heads because they're cold. I'm
So
warm now. This honestly, this hat, if I could be wearing shorts and a t-shirt right now and with this hat on, I'd be perfectly comfortable. It's
yeah,
amazing.
you'd look quite weird.
I would look extremely weird because right now I'm wearing a sweater and a flannel, but
Yeah, and it looks normal to me.
yeah.
Except you have 10 layers on.
Right.
I, conversely, am in my basement. And it is toasty warm down here. So even though the hot air rises, warm air rises, as I go up to the third floor of the condo, it is cold.
Really?
I go up in the morning and make coffee, and I go up to the third floor, and I'm like, what the hell? I thought warmer. We have in-floor heating
Nice.
in the basement.
Nice.
I want to tell you, it is
Yeah,
the best thing ever.
my dad has that at his house in North Dakota. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, the radiant heat. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, so yeah, it's very cold. My hat's on, but I want to go back to the 62. I keep it at 62, and this has been years in the making because when I grew up, my mom used to keep the house at 59,
oh
and
my
I
God.
loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. You sleep so well when it's chilly like that. And we had the big weighted, feather ticks that were that thick,
Yeah.
Foot thick, and we were under those, and you're just so cozy in your little cocoon. And we have those on our beds now. And I'm slowly teaching my girls the colder it is,
Yep.
the better you're going to sleep.
It's true.
And they're starting to realize that. So every year I go a degree lower. So last year, the lowest I could get the girls was 63. Now I've got them down to 62. The only problem I have with that is they get so used to sleeping when it's cold that now in the summer, I have to jack the air conditioning up. So it's like 66, 67 degrees. So it's constantly going.
Love
So my
that.
summer bills are way up, but
It's going to be a lot tougher too, because by my math, 20 years from now, you're going to be at 32 degrees.
right. Well, I don't think I'm going to go much lower than 60, 62 degrees.
Okay.
I think I've hit my limit now with my wife and daughter.
That's awesome. It is really good. And I visit my mom, and she keeps it at 70 or 72, depending upon, and I
Yeah. And exactly. The regular house during the day is at 65.
Yeah.
So the main floor, and that's as high as I'll turn it in the winter because we have the fireplace too. The fireplace will heat it up pretty well
for us too. And you have a gas fireplace?
Yep.
Yeah. And what a difference. And I will never go. I mean, as much as I like the smell and the nostalgia of real wood burning fireplaces, it's so much work compared to a gas.
Oh yeah.
Flip the switch. Oh, is that switch on the wall? Okay, turn it on. And it's just so much. And there's no creosote buildup, and it's just so easy.
Oh yeah. Now that's not to say if I ever buy a cabin somewhere, I'm not going to insist on a real fireplace,
of course,
because I absolutely love that same thing you're talking about. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's also an ease of use thing too, because you think about it, a cabin is for vacation. You don't have to work. You don't have to, you're not constantly trying to. I sit on my couch downstairs with my computer and I work in front of the fire. And it's one of the most relaxing things, but I wouldn't want to get up and stoke the fire or even have my laptop smell like a bonfire all the time.
Well, that's the other thing. Yes, you are constantly, and it's like grilling, making dinner on the barbecue, and and you come inside, man, I smell like charcoal.
Yep.
And we used to have gas grills. I think we talked about this where we keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
So now we're, I think, on our 3rd or 4th year with a nice Weber, but it's
Gas
a
grill.
charcoal. No,
Oh,
it's a charcoal.
okay. Okay.
But before we've had several gas
grills. Yeah. I mean, we haven't,
pluses
we
and
haven't,
minuses to all.
oh yeah. We haven't done that. We did, when I went to my friend's, on, the weekend after New Year's, they did a charcoal. He just got a new charcoal grill, and that was a lot of fun. But the work he had to put into it was like, no, gas
Yeah,
grill.
we don't use it as much. That's true. And
Yeah.
and I guess with the gas grill, we used it quite a bit more. But
Yeah.
looking out on our deck where the grill is now, there's about 7 or 8 inches of snow.
Nice.
So it would require me to shovel off the deck and do all that work
Yeah.
that you have to do with a charcoal grill. So let us know, listeners, if you have a preference and why, or if you've done like I've done, going back and forth, because I can't make up my mind.
Well, okay. Let's make that the next potty corner. Okay. I want to discuss the difference between gas and not the difference, the people's opinion of gas versus charcoal grills, or even a wood fired grill. So I've been watching some of those cooking shows over the break, and one of the places that they talked about was all of their cooking is done over a wood fire grill.
Like
so it's one of
pellets.
No, like the real pieces of wood, almost like you would if you were smoking meat, but instead they're burning the fire, taking the coals and putting it under the grate where they're bringing it down to the right level to cook the steak. So it's a steakhouse, but it's wood fired.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. So if you've got something like that, or Stephen, take it a step further, not just grills, but let's talk about the difference between the gas fired ovens, pizza ovens that you can get for your patio.
Pizza ovens, you just change
ovens. Yeah, we're going over to pizza because you can get those domes that are gas fired, or you can build your own, or get ones that are pre-built that you can actually put a wood or make them wood fired. So
I'd have to eat a whole lot of pizza to justify a pizza oven in my backyard.
I eat a lot of pizza.
Do you?
You can do a lot. They call them pizza ovens, but you can cook bread in them.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
you do a lot of stuff in them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's your assignment, listeners. Let us know.
I want to know.
You think what your take is. And we'll discuss that on the next potty corner.
Yeah. Let's discuss.
Let's talk amongst yourselves.
Talks amongst yourselves. Church lady, for anyone that wasn't getting that.
Well done.
We can't do that impression either.
No, we can.
Oh, well, we can, just not well. It's kind of like someone. Sinner. Someone told me once that, I said, I don't know if I was the one who said it or if someone I was with said it. Oh, I can't sing. Yeah, you can. You just can't sing well.
Nice.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, so head up to PoddiMouths.com. You can leave us a comment there. You can send us a message, or you can head over to Facebook or Instagram, somewhere that you're comfortable with, or Twitter. Not that we really watch Twitter all that much. Occasionally. It sends me alerts. I just don't go in there. I should. I know we've talked about that. We talked about that last year. Maybe that's my New Year's resolution.
Twitter is a tough one, though. I've heard people say this. This is not me saying it, so don't be mad at me. Twitter's kind of a cesspool.
I can't believe you said that. I'm so pissed at you.
Because people can hide behind all of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think any social media, if
it has the possibility to be that, I would agree with that. So it's what you do with it. And
exactly.
Post is.
I'd also like to hear if from those people that have watched The Social Dilemma and see if we can engage in a conversation about that as well. Have you watched that yet?
I have not.
You should. It's interesting.
In my spare time, I will.
In your spare time. Yep. When you have an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hey,
anyway, take another vacation. I'm all about that.
Unlimited.
Anyway, so head up to PoddiMouths.com. Check out our merch store. Check out Mr. Taylor's merch store up there as well. The Vehicle Nanny and also Patched Overalls. We still have links up there. We'd love to get more people on where we could have more links. We gotta. That's our goal this year, is to have a few more people that you can listen to other than us on our podcast.
Not other than, can we say in addition to?
In addition to. Okay, so John, he wants to be all that touchy-feely crap that I just absolutely love. I rolled my eyes if anyone wanted to know.
We could
I
hear.
wish you could see it. Yeah, you could probably hear it. I have not hydrated very well today.
Well, then if I could hear you rolling your eyes, you should probably get a drink.
It's like sandpaper. My eyes are like a cat's tongue. Anyway,
you know what they say about cats giving them a bath? Have you ever done that? Giving a cat a bath?
No.
It's not bad. It takes a while to get the fur off your tongue, but
on that note, I hope you all have a fantastic week. John, it was nice to see you again, sir.
Nice to see you too, Nick, and everybody. See ya.